Phones are ringing off the wall at the White House switchboard. All the operators are fielding a barrage of calls coming in from government officials and private citizens. President Grant, looking a little frazzled, is sitting in his big chair, speaking with reporters. Mr. President, they are all asking to be picked for a question, Jim. You go, the president says. Thank you. Mr. President, many are saying that it's the end of the world. Religious leaders are saying it's the rapture and Jesus is coming. What's your response to all this? Well, it's not even close to the end of the world. It's not Jesus coming. It's a spacecraft with a spacefaring group of folk on board. It's all very exciting, I know. But not much is going to change. You still will have to pay the mortgage, the light bill, shop for groceries today and tomorrow. Let's calm down and see what these visitors want. They may just need a cup of sugar. Thomas, the president, calls out, Yes, Mr. President, what are you going to do? With the escalating military presence at many of the world's shipping centers by the Chinese and the Russians, look, we are monitoring this very closely. So far, the buildup is within international rules. We are going up to the United Nations in a day or so, and we will speak to the world about the U.S. positions on many of these issues. Okay, people, I've got to get back to work. Thank you for coming by. Two of the president's aides usher the reporters out. Brad has made it to the 10th floor of his lab. He parked the Durango in the underground parking lot. He remembered that Walter saw him walk by the morning of the Superlight tests. He approaches the Superlight lab and scans his ID card at the entry door. The little screen says, Denied. What? Brad says under his breath. He takes the card and rubs it on his shirt, then tries again. This time it says, Enter. Have a nice day. Brad quickly moves down the hall, past Walter's lab and into the production shop at the end of the hall. The two reproduction rigs are sitting on a long table. They are in a freight case for easy moving. Brad pulls the tops. Over any buckles up the cases. They are long and heavy. He grabs the handles on each case, one in each hand, and moves back the way he came. Shit, these are heavy, he says to himself. He quickly moves to the elevator and rides down the 10 floors to the garage. He can see the Durango. He uses the key fob to pop the rear door of the SUV. Brad quickly loads the cases and slams the tailgate. Two security guys have just walked off the elevator and hear Brad's door slam. They walk out and toward Brad. Hey, sir, everything okay? One says. Great, thanks, Brad says. Hey, just a minute, one says. As he approaches the Durango, Brad jumps in and pulls out in a hurry. The guards call on their radio and run to their vehicle as Brad exits the garage. A guard is standing in the drive with his hands up. Expecting Brad to stop, Brad holds the horn down and slowly approaches the guard. The guard steps aside and Brad bursts out on the street. He sees a car in his rear view and plows out onto the street behind him. He is still on campus, so they have a little blue flashing light on their roof. Brad speeds up and heads for the exit and out onto the main street. Now a city police car has joined the chase. Brad turns off onto the access road he came in on, and he flips the door open on the A7 Time Rider and turns the unit on. Green light, Brad and the two cars. Behind him fly out onto the open lot. Brad selects forward on the device and stops the Durango. The security guards and police exit their vehicles and run toward the Durango. The cops have their weapons drawn. The Durango fades from sight. Brad can feel the tug of gravity and his body gets heavier and heavier. There is a big splash in the river that gets Stephen and Oscar's attention. What the? Stephen says. The Durango materializes with its front end down into the river. Brad is sitting in the Durango regaining his senses after a grueling jump. He sees that he has landed half into the water. He slips the Durango in reverse and backs up the bank and out onto open field. Brad climbs out with his arms stretched high. I did it, was a hell of a ride. But I got what we need. Let's get the fuck out of here. Nancy and Walter have been rebuilding the Superlight in the lab. I still haven't come to grips with all this, Walter. It's a huge responsibility to be in control of this information. Nancy says, yes, tell me about it. This information has us in a 250-foot deep hole, imprisoned. Actually, it's happened all throughout history. Galileo was kept on house arrest by the Roman Catholic Church for inventing the telescope. That little device rocked the world view at the time. The Superlight is repeating history. The government is so terrified by it, they try to hide the information as a means to control what the masses are allowed to know. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be down here forever. I need to get back to my family in Boston. Let's talk to Brad when he gets back. Professor Martin Shanks with the Los Alamos National Laboratory has agreed to sit in on a hearing with the National Space Defense Oversight Committee, responsible for overseeing the Space Force and private space operations. The hearing today is a closed session due to many classified subjects being discussed. Senator Abramson strikes the gavel. This hearing of the National Space Defense Oversight Committee will commence, first of all. I would like to welcome you all to this hearing, and a special thanks to Professor Shanks for so graciously agreeing to appear today. Before this committee, Professor Shanks, would you care to make a few remarks before we get started? Yes, thank you, Senator Abramson, for having me today. I am here as a concerned citizen and as a government official. My work has put me in proximity to many of our country's deepest and potentially horrifying secrets. I have served as the Chief Science Administrator at Los Alamos for 12 years, working closely with our large staff of scientists as well as neighboring Area 51. I would like to think we have the best minds on the planet working to make our country safer and a better place to live. The events of this last week can best be described as a wake-up call. Are you awake? The globe is struggling with the question of who are we really, and now, with the advent of our first contact, we are now learning we are not alone. A group of our scientists have known this fact for a long time, going back as early as the late 40s in the last century. Living survivors of 2 UFO crashes ended up at Los Alamos. I have seen extraterrestrials walking the halls of Los Alamos, a number of senators fall back in their chairs as Professor Shanks rolls on. Their heads in their hands, clearly distressed by this revelation, Professor Shanks continues, "Turns out, gentlemen, not only are we not alone, it's quite busy out there. I often equate the Earth as an anthill. Next to a highway, the ants live their normal lives, never knowing that cars and beings 100 times larger than them is just next to their home. That's us senators. We have numerous spacefaring civilizations zooming and zipping around. But we don't stop and look at anthills next to the highway. We don't have time or the interest in that. So it is with our celestial neighbors. They don't have the time or interest to stop and see us. With that, I will turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman." Abramson strikes the gavel. "I think we'll take a recess and see how we want to proceed." Adjourned. Major West has been lying around napping and eating with his team for a couple days. His sat phone rings. "Major West," he says. "Major, it's Captain Carpenter. Listen. We have established a link with a satellite that orbits the moon. So I need you and your team back here at Pine Bluff. I have sent you a ride. So pack your gear. A helo will be out there to take you back to the airport. Tell the chief there he has been a great help to his country, and he is not to leak anything to the media. Okay, Cap." The major says as he hangs up, "Pack your shit, we're going home." Raul Farid has located a Farsi speaker and brought him to the Situation Room, Airmen First Class. Benji Osani walks into the Situation Room. Great Captain Carpenter says, "Airman Osani, thanks for coming down. I want you to listen to this radio feed. Try to see if you can understand any of it. The captain patches the audio. Over the speakers, two men are talking rapidly. Airman Osani listens intently. He nods his head. Yes, this is Old Assyrian. They have very heavy accents. I can make it out. He is saying their vessel is braking and the speed is descending by 10% per solar unit. The satellite of Atlantium is ready to receive us. Captain Carpenter changes channels, a female voice and a male voice. Osani is nodding as he listens. They are talking about their son. He is saying that she is too protective of the son and that he will grow up weak and useless if she doesn't get tougher with him. Barbara says, "Okay, airmen go and sit at that terminal and scan the SE channels and write down any interesting conversations you hear. Let me know if you hear anything about their intentions." The crew of the Blade ease the vessel into the hangar of the expansive station of the Greys. The view of the rings of Saturn and the sun glinting off the rings is mesmerizing. Excelsior Andriel exits the Blade with an entourage of tall and small Greys. Let's contact that Anunnaki starbird and find out what they are up to. Excelsior Andriel walks into the bowl-shaped room, where he monitors the station and all sectors of space, 1,000,000 light years in any direction. A huge video screen drops from the ceiling. A large human-looking man is standing on the deck of the Starbird. Other large people are moving behind him. He is Anunnaki of Nibiru, a Nibirian from the planet Nibiru in the Nemesis system, the companion star of this system. The Nibiru system is on a very large orbit vertical to our solar plane. Nibiru is now about 400 million miles away. The Nibirians do not have faster than light travel or superphotonic travel. As it is called, their large starbird vessels can max out at 1 million miles per hour, still fast. Excelsior Andriel, be not afraid, power and glory to the One, the Anunnaki says. And to you, my brothers, Excelsior Andriel says, Enki, it is a true pleasure to see you. It has been a span. To what occasion do we owe this unexpected visit? RC Ancestor, the Nibiru have had ongoing operations in this region of space for many years. We have a very successful mining operation on the Atlantium satellite Luna. And with all the disturbances in the soul field, we felt it prudent to get a closer look. We have no other intent, dear Excelsior. As above, so below, may the One be with you.